When it comes to psychoactive drugs, many of them have a pretty major common theme, that they impact our brain's ability to do its usual job. Let's consider in what ways drugs in general can impact our brain. First, to understand how drugs impact our brain, we need to appreciate that the more frequently we use drugs, the more of a drug we need to consume in order to obtain a desired effect. In other words, the first time I use a drug, I may only need a small amount to get the desired effect from that drug. However, after a while, I need more and more to experience the same effect that I originally did with a smaller dose. We call this tolerance. Now, as I build tolerance, my body expects more of that drug to be available in my body and in my brain. When that desired amount is not available, we go through what's called withdrawal. Withdrawal symptoms in general tend to be pretty unpleasant. Things like cold shakes, vomiting, insomnia, and even pain. Oftentimes, when we experience withdrawal symptoms, this can motivate us to go back and use the drug, because using the drug will bring in the amount the body wants, and then the withdrawal symptoms go away. Now, in understanding the impact of withdrawal symptoms, it gets us to appreciate what's called physical dependence. Physical dependence speaks to the idea that the brain is biologically now hardwired to want that drug. Somehow it has impacted various structures or neurotransmitters. Physical dependence speaks to biological changes that we go through when we have become addicted to a specific drug. This is somewhat different than what's called psychological dependence. Psychological dependence is a more subjective feeling that I need this drug. Psychological dependence can take many forms, including behavioral or emotional regulations. It may come in the form of cravings or even rituals. For example, if I've gotten in the habit or the ritual of having my morning coffee, when that ritual is broken up, I can feel quite upset and disoriented. That speaks to my psychological dependence. Now, in terms of how the brain or how drugs impact the brain, we again need to review the idea of antagonist versus agonist drugs. Remember that our antagonist drugs will block certain neurotransmitters, while agonist drugs mimic. So for instance, when you grab your morning coffee, the caffeine acts as an antagonist of a neurotransmitter called adenosine. Adenosine is an inhibitory neurotransmitter that would typically slow our system down. In other words, it acts very similar to a depressant. However, when I'm consuming caffeine, I'm blocking any transmission of adenosine, which gives me a feeling of being more alert. Alcohol, on the other hand, is an agonist of GABA, so it acts in the same way as GABA, which is also an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Alcohol, by acting as GABA, has the effect of slowing our central nervous system down. Likewise, heroin is also an agonist. It mimics endorphins. This is why use of heroin and other opiates have the effect that endorphins typically do. That is, to reduce pain and enhance euphoria. Finally, drugs can also impact reuptake. For instance, cocaine has the effect of blocking reuptake of dopamine. Now remember, reuptake entails the reabsorption of neurotransmitters that were not used. In other words, the presynaptic neuron that sent a neurotransmitter into the synapse will clean up any excess. If, however, I've blocked a neurotransmitter or blocked that neurotransmitter and blocked reuptake of that neurotransmitter, That means it will remain in the synapse and be more readily available. With cocaine, it will make dopamine more readily available. And as dopamine is associated with feelings of reward and mood, it starts to make sense why drugs like cocaine can be very addictive. If you'd like to learn more about how various drugs impact the brain, including various neurotransmitters, I recommend you check out the link below.